forward this year? What are some things you need to do, let's say offensively, defensively, special teams, to get those W's in the conference?
We got to play better football. Let's start there. No, I mean, I think we've made a lot of changes internally, starting with, the change in strength coach, which has better positioned us to take some ground physically, and to look like the rest of our league. That's really exciting. Our players draw confidence from that too. And so they can sense a difference, and there's a different synergy in our building because of the work they're putting in and the results they're seeing that way. As far as, what we need to do, offense, defense, special teams, I think we performed in our special teams unit at a high level, that we positioned ourselves well in that way. Offensively and defensively, it's about playing more complementary. And offensively, we had a run of turnovers in the middle of our season in a 3-game stretch, starting with UNLV. We turned the ball over 10 times. 4 of those went back for touchdowns. I think another 3 set up possession inside the 15. And so that's not going to be a formula for us to be successful. So offensively protecting the ball, establishing a run game. Again, we went from 19th in the country in 2022 to 97th, I think, in 23 in time of possession. That's not a recipe for success. So reclaiming that ground in the run game, and then obviously finishing with touchdowns in the red zone be important. Defensively, it's eliminating explosive plays. We gave up too many of those a year ago. And in our third down performance, we got to get the ball back to our offense. Thought we did a decent job attacking the ball last year and generating some turnovers. That's always going to be a focus for an elite defense, and so that's something we want to do well also.
Right side, second row.
Jesse Doherty from the Washington Post. Clark, in the NIL era, when you get a verbal commitment from a high schooler, how much do you have to keep recruiting that player because of how much is going on? And is it really different from maybe 4 or 5 years ago before the NIL era began?
I don't know that. I don't know that the NIL era has changed the nature of verbal commitments. I think we've been experiencing this for some time now, where you want to shepherd those relationships all the way to the finish line. Certainly, you have situations where someone may get offered a better deal or a better package. I think you got to pay attention to those things. But we've been on high alert in the recruiting space for probably close to a decade, if not more. And so I think we just take the same approach with just a little more awareness of what has become legal, and that's again the transaction that's involved in recruiting now.
For your question, how worried are you if at all, about how much of this video game your guys are about to be playing heading into the season?
Well, I know 3 of them that aren't going to get to it until later, which is a good thing because they're here with me. If it were me, I'd be playing that game. So they're going to play it, and I think we gotta make sure. And listen, we message this all the time. It's there's always sacrifice in what we do, which includes that there's a time where we have to turn it off and go to bed and get up the next morning and get ready to go to work. What I know is the work that they're going to meet in that weight room is going to demand a lot of them, and so if they're not ready, we will know. I do want them to enjoy it, though, because, I know I would be. And, I on a side note, just let's celebrate the return of this game. It's a great thing. And so it's another way for fans to connect with our sport. And, for all these guys, back in my day, I think I was VU, whatever it would be, FB number 29, and then you'd have to update all the names and stuff. And if you're me, you start to hit those speed rankings up to 99, and they don't have to do that. They may have to change their rankings, but their names will be on there. What a sign of progress for our sport. And so again, that's fun. I want them to have fun with it. That doesn't excuse them from the work we have to do, which is going to be really important.
Right side.
Clark, Jordan Hill with Dogs 24/7. We're getting to know London Humphreys over at Georgia. What did you guys see from him when he was a high school recruit, and what did he bring to y'all's offense last year?
Oh, I got a ton of respect for London and his family, and super excited for him, and he's a great person, and he's got a great future ahead of him. We saw those things in the early stages of a high school player that has been a track athlete and a track star who was learning how to play the game. I felt like he developed well for us through the fall and had success, and had enough success that he chose to go somewhere else. But we wish him well, but that's as far as I'll comment on that. Thanks.
Left side on the aisle, please.
Tyler Shaw with KBTX in College Station. Clark, the past couple seasons, you've gone in saying that your goal was to get to competing for championships. Do you feel like that is still attainable? And how critical do you feel like this year is for the future of Vanderbilt?
I think I'm misunderstood a lot because I don't think it's always contextualized in the way that I see it. This is a journey, and everything that we experience, I believe, is meant for us. And that doesn't mean that, there aren't days where you feel a million miles away from the finish line. That's life, and that's building anything. And I think everyone relates to that, and everyone experiences that. The point for me is that our North Star, our aiming point is winning. It's sustaining winning, and it's competing for championships. So that everything we meet now only defines us as we are and not as we will actually be defined by the choices we make through our experience. And so for me, for example, last year was frustrating and disappointing and painful, but it's not an indictment of what our program's capable of. It's a picture of where we are, and success is a lag effect. So what's important is we take that knowledge and we redirect it in decisions that move us forward towards our goal. And again, the goal is to win.
Left side, third row.
Michael Cobble, WBRZ TV in Baton Rouge. Who's a player on offense and one on defense that we're not talking about but should be?
Well, I don't answer these questions well because I would end up talking about 20 guys. I think we have a group of guys that are working really hard to improve our program, and I think with the addition of the transfers, you've added competition, and with competition, as the saying goes, iron sharpens iron. So you're seeing players that are returning that maybe haven't yet had the careers that they set out to have. You see them now fighting for what they want, and this progress for each individual in the program is going to lead to a lot of guys, I think, having years that maybe we didn't anticipate, but that are going to be fun to experience and watch and to celebrate alongside them. There's two ways to improve the players on the field. One is you develop, the other is you acquire, and we've done both. And so I'm excited to give room for the guys that return that maybe haven't had that impact yet to have a breakout season. And I'm excited for the guys that we added that wanted to come and be a part of our build and be a part of our program and compete in the SEC, to take that stage and to optimize it and to have fun, playing football at the highest possible level.
Front row, on the left.
Coach, what attracted you to Nate Johnson, and what are his chances this season to contribute heavily?
Well, Nate is a quarterback that has tons of physical gifts. He's got documented speed. I may mess this up, but I think he ran like a 10-300 meter. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but I believe it's that. He is he's smart. He's got arm talent, and I've seen him perform in big stages at a high level. All those things are appealing. He'll compete for the starting job just like the rest of the guys will. And what I need from him is to continue to grow and continue to get better. But it's been fun to watch him out there. It's been fun to watch him find progress and find his footing in the system. And obviously, I expect he and Diego to go at it, and Blaze and Drew Dickey and the freshmen we've added. It'll be a fun competition, but I want to put a lot of pressure on Tim to put the best 11 on the field and to maximize, the product we put out there. And I know Tim's excited to have all these guys as available options for him to field a great offense.
On the aisle, on the right.
Hey, Coach, Bruce Marshall at WHBQ Memphis. I want to go back to Coach Kill for a second because I've been a big fan of his for years too. But I swore after last season he was retired for good, and then it seemed like he was. And then I hear that he, lined up with you, and I thought, wow, what a hire! I mean, how did you have to convince him out of being retired, or how did that all come about?
Well, I have a ton of respect for Jerry also. And, I think as a young coach, I followed his career and I kind of aspired to do some of the things that he's done, to build programs in places where it has been challenging. And, I've gotten to know him a little bit in passing, but always paid attention to what he was doing. When I interviewed Tim Beck and made the decision to hire him as offensive coordinator, I knew it was a possibility that Coach Kill was going to retire from being a head coach. And obviously, like any competitor, and any good recruiter, I wanted to position myself to sell Nashville. And it just so happens he's got a granddaughter that lives nearby, which is a great in. And he's a good family man, and he wanted to be able to spend time around his granddaughter. And I think also Coach Kill and I connect in so many ways. Philosophically, in our approach, I like to give him a hard time because he's a little bit older than me, but there's just, I think, a mutual respect. And also, I come at him with the approach of, like, I need you to come help me. I need to lean on your experience, and I want you to, I believe in so much of what we're doing, but to have someone who has that level of success and experience, it builds confidence in all of us. And so he and I have formed a special relationship, and I feel privileged to have him as a part of our staff. I lean on him every day. He makes me better, and he makes us better. And, I'm excited to go at this thing with him.
Any other questions? We have a couple minutes. Is the city of Nashville a strong recruiting tool for you? And then does it also present concerns that it offers so much when you have men that age?
It is an excellent place to recruit to. It's a and again we're an exception in a lot of ways with respect to there's so many college towns, but we are one of the fastest growing cities in the world, and a place where you can train in the summer but also intern at a Fortune 500 company and not miss any days, so I think that's a great advantage. There's also in the NIL era so many resources that surround us that can support our efforts. As far as the distractions that exist, as we were talking earlier about the game, those distractions are everywhere. And so we recruit to the city in all the ways that will support a great experience. We don't recruit to Broadway, and I'm not interested in having guys down on the honky tonk. But I'll also say to you that one of the great traps of becoming a pro is you get this influx of resources in a city with a lot of attention. And so we can learn now in Nashville how to build discipline around your process and how to not get distracted. And those lessons will carry over for our guys when they become pros.
Two final questions on the aisle here and then over there.
Just what have you seen from the progress of the stadium, and then how much you're looking forward to that being completed? What's kind of the overall atmosphere going to be like with a finally complete stadium to play?
Yeah, I'm really glad to not have a scoreboard hanging by cranes. I can start there. I was saying earlier, my view got measurably better when they knocked down the south end, and it's getting measurably worse every day they make progress on that south end. It's exciting because it's change, and we've been desperate for change at Vanderbilt. It's going to improve our game day environment, but it's only the first step. This is not the solution to our progress into building the program that we want to build. This is the first step, and an important one, and one that sends a signal. But for me and from my position, we can't stop here or feel like it's enough. We got to keep pushing. And what does pushing look like? It means continuing to address facilities so that we don't make any compromises at Vanderbilt football, that we have the best of the best in everything that our kids interact with. It means continuing to push for the resources we need to field the best possible team that we can field. Why? Because football is important at Vanderbilt, and we're here to win. And so I'll look forward to having the north end open this fall. That'll be really neat. I'll look forward to the south end opening for next season. And I'll look forward to all the things that come after this as we continue to build this program that signal the advancement and signal the desire to compete at the highest possible level.
Final question.
Hey, Coach Bruce from Memphis again. Real quick, just piggybacking on his stadium question, and just curious for me, that's an incredibly valuable piece of real estate that stadium sits on, with all that's going on in Nashville around there. Was there ever any discussion about doing what Pittsburgh did, moving into Heinz Field like they did with the Steelers? You have an NFL stadium in town. There might be a dome coming pretty soon. Was that ever a thought for Vandy to go into the big stadium and move away from campus there?
I can't speak to those discussions in the past just because I wasn't around. And none of those conversations have taken place since I've been at Vanderbilt. What I will tell you is I'd be vehemently opposed to that, because to me there's something about playing on campus that is sacred to college football. And the fact that our stadium's right across the street from our facility is a really neat thing. And so I'm glad that we have our home there. I'm excited for that home to get dressed up. I think we all are. It's long overdue. And now I'm interested in where we continue to make those changes to continue to support this program to compete and win at the highest level. I want to start just by acknowledging those in Houston that have been impacted by Hurricane Beryl. On behalf of Vanderbilt football, we hope for a full recovery for the city. But also our thoughts remain with anyone who's suffered loss. I'd also like to send my heartfelt condolences to the Kiffin family with the recent passing of Monty Kiffin. Coach Kiffin certainly left his mark on our game. His contributions to the coaching profession were monumental. His legacy will continue to inspire and guide us forward. As always, I'd be remiss not to thank Chancellor Diermeyer and Candace Lee for allowing me the opportunity to represent our great university and the privilege of working with our coaches, players, and staff back home in Nashville. It's great to be in Dallas. There's such a rich tradition of football excellence at every level in Texas. We have 21 players on our roster from this state, and we're excited for continued recruiting success here, particularly with the SEC expansion in the region. I have 3 players with me today that have been connected to our program since my beginning. C.J. Taylor and Gunnar Hansen were a part of the COVID recruiting class that I inherited in my first year. Both have developed into highly productive players. C.J. has been the most explosive playmaker on our defense for the past 2 seasons, and Gunnar anchors our offensive line, having amassed 22 starts, including 17 consecutive. You'll also meet Langston Patterson today. Langston was early to buy into the vision for what's possible with Vanderbilt football as our first committed player in my time as head coach. Langston finished last season as our most productive player on defense and is poised to have a great continued success in his career this season. As we grow success in time, there will be a few guys that I'll remember as critical to setting the foundation for our program. CJ, Gunnar, and Langston are certainly a part of that group. A year ago, I spoke to you about our program taking the next step, about building on the progress we made from year 1 to year 2. As I've said in the past, success is seldom linear, and unfortunately, we dipped in our performance and fell well short of our goal of competing in postseason play. It's a core belief of mine that challenges present opportunities, specifically opportunities for growth. And with that in mind, at the conclusion of the last season, I set out to understand more about our shortcomings so that I could make adjustments to get us back on track. I approached every decision this all season looking to answer two important questions. What am I meant to learn from this adversity? And how can we use it as an inflection point and a catalyst to our future success? From this exercise, we've changed in three fundamental ways. First, we've changed the way we train. It was clear we weren't developing physically at a rate that was closing the gap between us and our league peers, and that a new approach was needed in the weight room. This led to the hire of Robert Steiner, who brings an excellent track record of developing football teams while also building culture in the weight room. Coach Steiner's impact has been immediate, and our team has benefited in measurable ways from his philosophy and approach. Second, we've changed our tactical systems on offense and defense. In the role of offensive coordinator, I hired Tim Beck, who joins us from New Mexico State. Last season, Tim engineered the number 14 rushing offense and the number 12 offense in yards per play. The improvement made by his unit in 2 years at New Mexico State stood out to me and demonstrates the type of developmental success needed at Vanderbilt. He also brings 10 years of experience as a head coach, including a national championship in 2011. Along with Tim, I decided to take over the role as defensive coordinator. This is a job that I know well, and my belief that I could positively impact this side of the ball kept me from having to put anyone else in front of our defensive players. Consequently, I've grown closer to the team and my work with the defense, as I'm able to build connection through teaching the game that we love and share. In taking on this responsibility, I needed to round out the staff with someone who had the experience to strengthen our operational systems while sharing in the responsibilities that traditionally fall to the head coach. Jerry Kill brings to our staff 175 wins over 24 years as a head coach. He's built programs at challenging places throughout his career, and I can think of no one better to lock arms with as we continue our climb at Vanderbilt. Finally, we've expedited the transformation of our roster. This has required that we fully embrace changes in the college football landscape and actively participate in both the transfer portal and NIL. Falling behind in the NIL and transfer portal space has erased much of the progress we made in our first 2 years. As I've stated in the past, it's impossible to function in the portal without resources, and it's taken time for us to build the infrastructure that allows us both to retain our team and be competitive in that market. Without Candace Lee's support and competitive toughness, we would still be stuck in our old strategy. As it is, we've been able to adjust and adapt, and though we still have a ways to go, we're in a much better position to support our team now than we were a year ago. Roster transformation is about more than enhancing talent and skill. It's also been important for us to address the spirit of our program and shed the mindset of our past. We'll have 53 players on our roster this season that weren't with us a year ago. And of our 120 players, 106 have been recruited into my vision for success at Vanderbilt. This will be the first season in which the majority of the team signed up for the mission we're on, which is a long way from the initial team of 98 we fielded in 2021. When I accepted the job at Vanderbilt, I set out to build a program that serves the long-term interests of the players, one that is the caretaker of future success, the steward of holistic development, and healthy experience. Even as the context for our game changes, I will not abandon this mission. It's what I believe in and the only way I know how to coach. With that said, we do have to adjust our course as the ground beneath our feet shifts, but in doing so, we don't have to lose our souls. We still have choices.
People first, mission always. Our challenge now is to uphold our righteous standards while embracing a more short-term strategy of winning football. This is the reality of our game now and what winning requires of us. I'm proud of the efforts we've made to position our program to get back on track. I believe wholeheartedly in the mission we're on, and I look forward to taking the field with Team 4 in just a few weeks.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone. Please give your name and affiliation. We have Grant, Dylan, and Dinah. We will get a microphone to you. Okay, we're going to start, Coach, in the section in front of me, about 3/4 of the way back, right here in the center.
Eric Henry, Horns 24/7. Two-part question for you, Coach. One is wondering if you could talk about what the addition of Diego Pavi has brought to the team. And secondly, just your thoughts on Oklahoma and Texas join the league and the fact that you host Texas this year.
Yeah, first of all, it's just a great time for the SEC. And what Commissioner does as the leader of this organization impresses me endlessly. And so the addition of the two teams, I think, is great for our sport. I think it's exciting. I'm proud to be a part of this league. And, you know, there's been kind of a 3-year runway here. So it feels like, I don't know, they've been with us for a while, but certainly to have them as a part of the league and to compete against them is going to mean a lot. Diego brings experience. He brings a competitive edge. We've already, you know, felt his presence in our locker room. There's a quarterback competition that we're undergoing right now, and that'll be true up until we play Virginia Tech. But we're glad to have him, just like we're glad to have the other additions to our roster. For those that know Diego, know that he's a unique competitor he just exudes edge, and really proud to have him in black and gold.
All right, we'll go over here on our left, on the aisle.
Ike Jones with the War Report Auburn. Coach, you said in an interview earlier during spring that this is the most fun that you feel like you've had as a head coach. Is that mostly because of your recommitment to be the defensive coordinator, or is it more of like the buy-in that you're saying when you're getting more players that you've recruited?
Well, I think specifically it's speaking to just being able to reconnect with the passion I have for teaching and coaching. And true, I mean, like I'm a teacher first, I'm a competitor second. So, you know, feeling like I have direct responsibility over the play and the performance on the field, building trust with players through teaching them and helping them to play the game at a higher level, all those things are energizing to me. I also feel very positively about the resilience we demonstrated in a tough December after a tough season. And the idea that we're, you know, able to bolster our roster and to do things to build competition on our team, those are things as a competitor that excite me too. And again, I you know, Candace Lee's been such a great partner on all this. You know, we're building this program in conditions that seem to change every day. But to know that we can get through some of that roster turnover and be better for it, to not lose the foundation of culture that we built over 3 years, to find people that fit us and that come in and actually not just fit us, but add to us and move us forward. Those are very energizing and empowering feelings, and you know, it's led to that coupled with the teaching and the coaching. We're having a lot of fun.
Coach, we're going to go to the section to your immediate right along the aisle. Ralph.
Hey, Clark. Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. New rules about coaching staffs are going to go into place that could essentially lead to unlimited coachings or coaching staff. I'm wondering what thought you have given to how best you can deploy a lot more coaches that can coach on the field.
Yeah, well, we anticipated this just in the design of this staff. So when you look at like the addition of Jerry Kill, you know, knowing that eventually we felt like he was going to be able to be a part of and wear a headset and be influential on. We also added Steve Gregory, who Steve is, like someone I've worked with at Syracuse and have a lot of respect for, was secondary coach for the Lions, secondary coach for the Dolphins, who joins us as the associate defensive coordinator. He's a guy that's going to really help me and support me as I take on two roles. But beyond that, we've also retained some of our young staff that are ready to move on and to, take over rooms elsewhere. But knowing that this was on the horizon, we wanted to keep them involved because we believe in them and their teaching ability, but also in the fact that they're totally aligned with the culture we've built. And so retaining them and putting them in positions now to coach tight ends or coach stars and to be actively engaging in that way is a way for us to just strengthen our culture and strengthen our process. And so we anticipated it. I do believe that there's probably a negative return to too much. Obviously, like any situation, the more voices you have, the more opinions you have, the more important it is that as a leader that you hone in on what you want to do and you set a course for everybody. But certainly we feel we were positioned to take advantage of that rule, and we'll look to continue to do that moving forward.
Coach, we'll go into the section in front of me, straight ahead, but fourth row.
Sean J. Roger from CBS Sports. Coach, what really drew you to that New Mexico State brain trust, and what do you kind of hope that they're able to bring to your program?
Well, I've always wanted to go to Las Cruces, so I'm just kidding. I've always had a great respect for Jerry Kill, and as a young coach, competed against him, I think it was 2013, in the Texas Bowl. He was at Minnesota, I was at Syracuse, and just in watching his team play then, I remember just having such admiration for the style of play. Jerry's a guy who has such a reputation for program building, and again, the respect that people have for him in our profession goes beyond just the wins and losses. It's how he's done it, and that struck a chord with me as a young coach, and I've continued to follow him through my career. So I happened to cross paths with him in 2022, and actually finally had a chance to introduce myself and exchange contacts, and followed his progress at New Mexico State. And the bowl game in year one was celebrating that for him from afar. Year two is one of the most impressive coaching jobs that I think our game has seen. I mean, they opened, it's a 10-win season. They opened with a loss against UMass. I mean, you think about the competitive toughness it takes as a leader to continue to grow your team and believe in what you're doing after suffering a setback like that in game one. But my attention was really grabbed after they went to Auburn the week after we played them, and were able to steal a win on the road there. And, I probably watched that game 9 or 10 times start to finish the next week. When I say start to finish, the intercut where you go from play one to the final play and watch every phase and every snap. I wanted to see the anatomy of what he had built. I saw a defense that was sound, solid, and simple, played together and played hard. Saw an offense that was creative in design but wasn't gimmicky. I saw a quarterback that was a maniac and suplexed a linebacker on the sideline there early in the game, and one of his only mistakes where he threw an interception. It was impressive. And at the time, I thought we would just go and visit them in the off season and just kind of get a feel for what their process is like and what can we take from them, what can we learn from them. But when I made the decision to go in a different direction on offense, I knew I wanted to take a look at Tim, and all the analytical measures we were looking at, his numbers stood out, and we made the connection, and he's a great addition. The fact that Jerry comes is icing on the cake. I mean, I feel so privileged to have him as a part of our staff. I'm learning from him every day, and he's a great asset for us.
Coach, we'll go straight down the center aisle, just on the near aisle.
Coach, Emily Grace McWhorter from the next round. You added a lot of depth from the transfer portal, and you also added depth in your staff. As you look back from spring practice until now as a unit, what are some indicators that your program is headed in the right direction for 2024?
Well, we play a lot more football now than we ever have in the past. And so you kind of have a feel for how your team is performing in the systems and competing in the systems. And obviously, just like every other program, our kids wear GPSs on the field. And so we got measurables that tell us that we're moving in the right direction. But one of the things that I feel like is most impressive is the speed has increased, but so has the weight. And so, like, when you look at our edge players, average weight gain from January till now, an average addition of 16.4 pounds. That's impressive. You talk about the tight end group averaging 12 pounds, of weight gain. Safeties averaging 10 pounds of weight gain, so on and so forth. I can go down the list. What you realize is we're becoming a faster team, we're becoming a bigger team. And so independent of just seeing performance in the systems and getting a little more exposures that way, we can see the physical development of our roster. And again, for us, especially early in on this build, we're not positioning our squad the best we can unless we're making those gains. I credit Robert Steiner with that. I credit his philosophy and his approach. Our players will do the same today when you ask them. He's been an absolute rock star for us, and I'm glad to have him.
Coach, we'll go in the section in front of me, about midway back.
Clark, Chris Hummer with 24/7 Sports. You promoted Jamal Richardson earlier this offseason. What did you see in such a young coach to feel comfortable putting him on the field?
Are you friends with Jamal? Okay, just kidding. Here's Jamal Richardson. Passionate, high energy, positive every day. A young coach who knows how to hold people accountable. I was so impressed with his willingness to come to me at times and say, Coach, I don't understand what you meant when you said this, or Coach, I didn't really take that the right way. What was that about? Just to have those hard conversations, they came so natural to him. He holds the respect of our team. He holds the respect of that corner room. He's relatable to our players. So here's a guy, as I'm getting older and older, unfortunately, here's a guy that knows what that player experience is really like. And so, I've got so much faith and confidence in Jamal. I'm so excited to be helping him in his process for growth. But as a young coach, there's so many things that he does naturally and instinctively that serve as a great foundation. And so Jamal's a guy that is going to have a great run with us at Vanderbilt, but we're going to be talking about him and his career for a very long time.
Coach, we'll go over here to my left on the very front row.
Coach, good afternoon. Ken Capps from Football Writers of America. With Texas and Oklahoma joining the league, the University of Texas has a winning record against every SEC program except South Carolina and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has an 8-3-1 record against the University of Texas. Now, they haven't played since 1928, but hey.
I don't think it's important.
8-3-1 is 8-3-1, and they're coming to Nashville in October. What are your thoughts?
Well, independent of, the football that was played in the 20s, listen, I'm excited to, I've got a ton of respect for Coach Sarkisian. He in 2020, we competed here in Dallas in the Rose Bowl. It was the pandemic year, and I was at Notre Dame at the time, and he was running the offense at Alabama, and it was one of the most challenging offenses I've ever had to plan for. Got a ton of respect for him and the program he's building, and it's taken time for him, and he's taken time at the foundation. And I think in year one here, where Texas and Oklahoma are now a part of the SEC, to have a piece of that and have a game with them is really exciting. And the fact that it's in Nashville, I'm proud of that, and I'm looking forward to competing with them. And I think it'll be a great, celebration of where the SEC is and a celebration of where our game's headed.
Coach will go in the section in front of me over on the left aisle.
Hey, Coach, Ian Boyd with Inside Texas. How do you expect the addition of helmet communications to change play calling, especially on the defensive side?
Well, because in college offenses are no huddle and most of them use tempo, I think we're still going to need to utilize signals from the sideline. I think it's going to be advantageous for us to have a line of communication to a player on the field. Certainly believe that can be used in a positive way. And maybe there are occasions against certain offenses where you have the time to group that defense together. I mean, we haven't used to be, this is probably 10 years ago, maybe even 15, you'd start fall camp going through your defensive huddle. I mean, that doesn't happen anymore. So I don't expect there to be big changes that way. I do expect the line of communication to be helpful. And maybe in certain situations you have a chance for a linebacker or safety to get the group together and to deliver a message from the sideline.
Hey, Coach, we'll go over here on my far left on the aisle. Do we have a question over right there on the aisle?
Clark, Lawrence Holmes, 670 The Score. With the league continuing to expand, it gets tougher and tougher. What type of player works at Vanderbilt, and what's the sell? How easy or how difficult is it for you to ask young men to come and play in this conference?
Well, the type of player that works at Vanderbilt is the same type of player that works at any of our peer institutions. We want to be competitive for every player because we believe in the product that we sell. And I think in the NIL world, some of the long-term significance of this choice has been undercut. I do believe that. And I think we have to adapt our recruiting approach and our thought process, again, to capture the short-term strategy that I mentioned earlier and not just the long-term approach. The great thing about choosing Vanderbilt is that decision gets better over time. In 20 years, 30 years, you'll be as proud of that decision as you are when you're a 17 or 18-year-old. But the SEC is a great draw. It's probably, I would imagine, for my peers too, the number one aspect of choosing a school to play in a great conference where you're playing against the very best. It's a great interview for the job that all these guys want and they should want, and that's to play in the NFL. That's something we believe wholeheartedly in. I actually don't believe in backup plans that way. I want these guys to pursue an NFL career every day of their lives. I just happen to believe that better people make better players, and that how you do anything is how you do everything. And that the time and attention you put going to class on our campus and living with your life with standards in everything will make you a better pro. And when we send players off to the NFL, and that is going to happen, I know we've had a little bit of a slide that way, but we have been developing young people in our systems, and with our work in the transfer portal, we are going to send people to the NFL that are prepared to be pros. And though your talent may get you the opportunity, it won't keep you there. You've got to be a productive player. And to be a productive player at that level, you better have routines and process in place and a discipline in place, because it is a grinder. And that may get you to a second contract, and it's going to be your ability to be a leader and to engage with the community, and to, as your physical skills deplete, to continue to add value to an organization. That'll get you your third. What better place to train for that than Vanderbilt University? And so with respect to recruiting, listen, we are going to get stronger and stronger as we continue to adapt and adopt strategies that mirror our peers in the portal and NIL space. We have a great product to sell in the best league in the world. And so we expect to continue to field a team of players that look like the players that we play against every Saturday. And we're part of the way there now. We still got a ways to go, but I am really proud of the progress we've made that way, and I'm excited about continuing this growth internally.
Coach Lee, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.